Okay, so I was trying to get a cool picture of me holding all three of the books and then highlighting that I'm just working on this one today in this video, but it did not quite work. So this is what we got and what we're dealing with for this video. Moral of the story is I'm about to talk about The Way of Kings. And I had to figure out a way to hold it because I tried to film this before and it was just not tall enough, so now it's going to stand on the other two books on the series. So I just finished my reread of Way of Kings, and this is going to be my review of it. I have tried to film this already, as I mentioned, and I really wanted it to be a spoiler-free review. That way we could kind of just tell people about the book. I have watched a few reviews since my first attempt at filming it, and I'll have both of them linked down below. One is from Murphy Napier, and the other one is Michael Nip. He did a great job, Michael did, at kind of doing a spoiler-free section and then a spoiler section. My plan for reviewing, again, the three books here, I should probably get a better camera situation than my computer, but here we are. My plan for reviewing these books for YouTube and stuff is to do a spoiler-free review of all of the books and then do a spoiler-filled, a spoiler-filled full Stormlight Archive review, chat, whatnot, after I read Rhythm of War. And then I'll probably do another Cosmere as a whole video, because if you can look over there, that's my entire Brandon Sanderson Cosmere shelf, and I have read all of them since February of this year, and it's been a great time, and I want to talk about all of them. And I'll probably have to go into doing some of my own research on some of the lore and stuff so I can be super cool and knowledgeable for whenever I put the full video together. But moral of the story is, today we're going to talk about Way of Kings, so without further ado, Way of Kings of Brandon Sanderson is a chunky boy. It has 5 sections. I did this in the other video. Y'all are going to just get to experience me flipping through pages. There's 5 sections, and this book is intimidating to a lot of people because A, its size, B, it is known as a book to actually have 4 separate beginnings, which seems a little complicated. It follows the perspectives of a lot of characters, and a lot of things happen. I am going to do my best to speak vaguely because I'm trying to be spoiler free, and I know that it just might be confusing and vague, but that's the point, and I want it to be hopefully encouraging to motivate y'all to try and tackle this big guy here. And yeah, so moral of the story here is we are on this planet called Roshar in the Cosmere, which is all of the planets in the Cosmere system. Roshar is in one of its systems, or it is the system. I'm going to stop saying moral of the story, I promise. But in this book here, the main characters you follow are and get perspectives from are Kaladin, Dalinar, Adolin, and Shallan. Characters that you do not get, I believe, direct perspectives from, but you do meet and follow that are important for this book and the following books are, and I believe we get more perspectives in the following books from some of these characters, is Renarin, Elhokar, Yasna, Navani, Sadeas, everybody else in Bridge 4. There's a lot of names. But this is a really awesome book, and in the characters we do follow in The Way of Kings, this is more Kaladin's book. We get a lot of flashbacks into his previous life and what got him to where he is now. And we do see a lot of different things. Basically, the setting is that this book starts with the assassination of King Galavar by a mysterious dressed in white Shen assassin named Zeth, or my brain has always pronounced it so Zeth because it's an S and then a Z, but apparently the official pronunciation is Zeth, and that's just where it kicks off, and basically all of the characters intertwined are from different areas and whatnot, but it's a lot about the focus on this war that they've been in since the assassination of the king that is taking place on these Shattered Plains. We do follow Shallan's story, and hers is very interesting. You don't get a whole lot going on with her, but you do see that she is studying to be a scholar with Yasna. She may or may not have ulterior motives, and you just get to see the beginning of that journey and the relationship and the magic and with the research that they're doing and why it's really important for both this book and the entirety of the Stormlight Archive. They are not on the Shattered Plains with everybody else, which is why I started there. Also, on the Shattered Plains, you see a lot of the families of royalty, and you get to see a lot about the just the socioeconomic things going on and the different statuses of the people and the high princes and how they all interact with each other and the drama and the intrigue there. Specifically of the high prince variety, we have Dalinar, which is King Galavar's brother. He goes through a lot. Yeah, there's not a whole lot I can say specifically about him. I'll do some just more general explanations of things, but I won't have characters and names attached to them just to keep up the intrigue. Adolin and Renarin are his sons. Elokar is the new king. He is the son of Galavar that was assassinated at the very beginning of the book. And Navani was King Galavar's wife and Elokar's mother. Yasna, just to bring her full circle, is Elokar's sister. Other high princes you meet or hear about are Sadeas specifically. And yeah, cool. Also hanging out there for a different reason is Kaladin. It's kind of hard to talk about him in any actual detail without revealing what's happening to him, but Kaladin is a really awesome character. I might be in love with him. But we actually also get to see a really good example of a character who has mental health issues in this book through numerous characters, but Kaladin specifically deals with a lot of depression, and that's actually, I think it's done very well, and I think it was, you see how just the things around him affect him, and you get to hear a lot of his internal monologue, because again, a lot of this book is from his perspective. I think that's the gist of specific characters. A few other things that I want to talk about is Brandon Sanderson in this particular world, and in all of his worlds really, but this one, it's just insane the kind of like world he puts together. You can tell there's a whole lot of weird or interesting and very unique things that I've never seen before, with the socioeconomic issues, just the disparaging differences between like women's roles and men's roles in this world. And like that's just very stark. You can also see just there's like almost a caste system in this world based on the color of your eyes. And also there's other races of people that are just not the normal humanoid people we see, which is the Parshman and Parshendi that we see play into a lot of different things in this book. The magic here, and when you read this book, is not super clear as to what like the end goal is, so to speak, but we are introduced to Spren, which are basically, I envision them in my mind as little like fluttering images of color and light, and they associate with different things. Like there is rot spren if someone is sick and has an injury that's infected. There is flame spren for fire, wind spren for the wind. They kind of are, I think, are just like physical. I think of them as like physical permeations of things that we wouldn't really associate with something that's alive in our present world, on Earth here. So there is a lot about the magic that you don't know in this book. I have read the entire series before, so this is a reread. And yeah, Brandon Sanderson does a really good job of just creating this very unique place that I had never read anything like before. I'm pretty sure Way of Kings, and I can second that with my reread of this book, is one of my favorite books of all time. And I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Are y'all ready for some spoilers? Because I'm excited. I'm going to do a giant screen saying spoiler alert, because the rest of this review will have spoilers. So if you have not read this book or are ever wanting to read this book, I really recommend you stop this video, because I can't imagine like knowing what I would have gotten into if I had read this book. So here we go. Kaladin, oh, my child, it's rough for you. The Bridge 4 and just the Bridgman experience in general is super intriguing because it's like that is truly just something that is like so wasteful to life. And I get that it like goes and ultimately helps to save the warrior's life, but that's just that's like it. They're basically slaves that just matter less than other slaves because they can be so easily replaced. Because like the Parshmen, with the exception of the one that gets added to Bridge 4, aren't just being like thrown away. Granted, they are very obedient servants at this point, anyways. So the whole like just psychological thing that goes into being a bridgeman, as I can imagine, is rough. And I love Cal and Syl's relationship in this book, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I mean, I know the answer, but I don't want to spoil the future books for y'all. Shallan, oh, honey, you are a little crazy. And again, we see that expanded upon in the next few books. But I really like her studying experience with Yasna and her just general relationship thing that she has going with Casbal, I believe is the Ardent in Carthbronk. I think that's just a really interesting dynamic, and I would love to go somewhere where you can just study and like be surrounded by books. I clearly like books. If you'll just admire the collection, this open section is where these books go. I clearly enjoy books, and I love learning. So that just is such an interesting thing. They're basically just doing scholarly research that's going to affect the like outcome and the survival of the race on this planet because of the Voidbringers and whatnot that Shallan and Yasta believe to be the Parshendi warriors at this point, and the Parshmen. Sorry. I'm trying to like go through all my reactions and stuff. I really should film. I'm going to live vlog my reading of Words of Radiance so you get some fresh reactions to things happening. That will be a tack with spoilers event. And I did mean to vlog this one, but I was traveling a lot of this month, and it just wasn't going to work out for the best. But I really think Dalinar and his kid and his two sons. I don't know why I said children. They're old. They're probably my age at this point. The relationship in different like ways he treats his sons is very interesting. It's like there's a few memes out there, and if I can find one, I'll put it up. But it's like Dalinar, I love my sons equally. Then it's like showers Adolin with praise, reverence, whatnot, and then just like shoves Renarin off into the corner. I know in this book we don't hear a lot from Renarin, but I think it's really cool what we'll see him go into doing in the next books. And Adolin, in and of himself, we see him kind of in this book just acting like almost a playboy who just doesn't know what he wants to do, doesn't want to settle down, wants to duel. And I do like the dynamic that we see between him and Dalinar, and like as we are trying to come to terms if Dalinar is going crazy or not in his visions, and Adolin kind of having to call his dad out on that, and then also like when they realize that Dalinar's not actually going crazy, just like Adolin having to come to terms with that and just deal with that all on his own. On Dalinar's note, I can imagine it'd be rough just casually having visions that the Almighty has sent you from the past before he was killed by the god Odium, which is I think the like evil dark god of this world at this point. I think it's the stuff we know about it. Yeah. Him and Navani, I will say, are cute, and I ship it. I support it. You do you, honey. I think a lot of just to touch on a little of the socioeconomic stuff I mentioned in the non-spoiler section, I do think it's very interesting that the women are like, you must be the intelligent people, you must do the engineering, and you must do all these things, but you're not allowed to get near a sword and fight. And the men are like, we're not even gonna read, and we'll just hit each other with swords and do things like that. I think that's just a really interesting dynamic to see. And I'm still curious if we're gonna get like into why that came to be. I've read the first 3 books and I don't really remember. It's been a long time since I read the other 2, and I don't really remember if they touch on that. But in one of the visions that Dalinar has, he's like, men read, and he's like, whoa, and they're not just an ardent, so that's pretty interesting. I'm excited to see if we get more information on that. When I didn't forget what happened in this book, but when Sadeas betrayed Dalinar, I was so mad. I was like on a live vlog, which I'll link our last live sprinting and whatnot down below if you're interested in checking it out. The live sprinting I do with Katie Reed and Sammy. I was like just visibly angry. I was so mad. I was just like, I forgot this happened and I hate you. Yeah, there's that. I really am just to kind of tie that knot off. Zendaya just sucks. And yeah, that's all I got on that. But I did really love the moment when Dalinar gave up his shard blade to buy all of the bridgemen back from Sedaeus, just because Kaladin and friends decided they were gonna be good people and do what was right and not leave Dalinar's army there to die completely. On Bridge 4 with a little more focus, I know I mentioned Kaladin. I think it's just a really cool thing how we get to see that Kaladin just is like, when Kaladin comes out of his depression and whatnot and just overcomes it, and a lot of that is due to Syl being great and awesome. He just brings all these bridgemen with him, and he's Kaladin Stormblessed, and I love Rock. He's great. I think I want more than we get of him, I think, in these books, but he's just like a chill character who is actually, like, I would love to know a lot more about his people. Like, that's just very interesting to me, because he called everybody airsick lowlanders. And I have a comment about the whole series in general that I'll do another spoiler thing for, a spoiler mark, but I have some words about Moshe. So stay tuned to the very end if you want to hear those. I think I hit on basically everything. Elokar. I get that he's paranoid and whatnot, but also just what he does and the way he handles situations is very immature. And yeah, his father was assassinated, and he wants people to take his fear and stuff seriously. But dude, grow up a little bit. Like, the way he handled that and ended up making Sadeas and the person in charge of the investigation and whatnot is ultimately what led to Dalinar and friends almost being completely killed. So my comment on his character is grow up, and I do know that he does, and part of that is the fact that Dalinar was kicking him in the stomach for a while, yelling at him and all that jazz. So yeah, those are, I think, my immediate thoughts on this book. I don't know if I missed anybody's character, because I kind of wanted to, in the spoiler section, touch on all the characters. We're going to flip through the pages again. Bear with me. I don't know. I do think it's cool, though, that the illustrations and stuff inside this book, just as an additional commentary, are stuff that Shallan draws. I think that's a pretty fun thing to know about. So if you didn't know, now you know. Final commentary. Spoiler alert for the entire series if you haven't read it. Knowing what I know about where Moshe ends up and what he ends up doing, again, spoiler alert, what Moshe ends up doing to everybody in Bridge 4 and how he betrays Kaladin and whatnot, knowing that I know how he ends up later in the book is making me like, ooh, I'm pretty mad at you while I read this, because I know what he does and who he ends up being and how he ends up like doing the bad stuff. So it's like, but did you have to? Reading his like little bit of his character that we get in this book just was already frustrating, because I know where he ends up. And that's, like, when I read the book the first time, I was like, oh, Moshe, this guy seems chill. I was wrong. Anyways. I hope y'all enjoyed my video and all that jazz. I'm really enjoyed rereading this book. It's still one of my favorites, and when I read the full Stormlight Archive the first time, I was really disappointed in the third book, but that's also because I thought for some reason it was only a trilogy, and there were so many unanswered questions that I think on this read, now that I know there's going to be 5 books and basically the Arrow one, and then 5 books after a time jump in the Stormlight Archive, I have nothing to worry about. So I am super excited to continue reading this, and I really did love The Way of Kings. It is definitely one of my favorite books of all time. Best of 2020 maybe, or it'll obviously be on the best of 2020 list. There's no surprise there, but I'm a fan. That's all. Thanks for watching, y'all. Hope you enjoyed my spoiler and spoiler-free review of Way of Kings. I start reading Words of Radiance in November, and September. And I'm going to, this guy's a little chunkier than the first one. I think he rings out at like 1,100 pages. About 1,096. So I will be vlogging my read of this. Also, this is a fresh book because I borrowed this from a friend and I haven't read it yet. So I'm excited to just like break in this copy of this book. Yeah, I'll catch you next time, and I'm gonna make a new like subsection on my channel with Stormlight Archive only videos / I'll probably put Brandon Sanderson as the overall section. But yeah, I'm excited to read this. I'll catch y'all with it in September.